a changed man. And so, of course, I got my sidekick Wes with me this morning. How you doing, Wes?
Doing well. How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Um, so I want to introduce Nicholas. He said they call him Nick. Okay. So he Nick is a returning citizen, right? And I think he met Jeannie maybe 10 years ago. But he also went to Boston University. He's an honors graduate, owner of multiple companies. That's good. Christian father, mentor, husband, coach, and loves peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with milk. So good morning. How
Good
are
morning,
you?
good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's wonderful to meet you.
Likewise, likewise.
Yes, we have a mutual friend in Jeannie Matos, who is awesome.
Yeah, she is.
She's just a real down to earth sister, you know,
She is.
and she's about youth, you know, and young adults, and that's where we connect. She does a lot of work in the community for the youth, and she does a lot of work for her organization, Madison Park Development Corporation. And so
Awesome.
we are here this morning to find out about you, to talk about you, because you have an interesting story. So I'm gonna let you start with your name, what you've been doing, some of the organizations that you may have or run or be a part of.
So my name is Nicholas DeJeanette.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you said a returning citizen. I got out in 2010. Yes, I graduated from Boston University College. Had a rough upbringing. Mother was a prostitute, father was a pimp, both alcoholics and drug addicts. Lived a very reckless life. Growing up. My first crime was in 1988. I was 8 years old, breaking and entering.
Wow.
So I spent my childhood going in and out of DYS locker facilities. Started going to jail as soon as I was old enough to go at the age of 17. By the time I was 22 years old, I was sentenced to 15 to 17 years in prison.
Wow.
So yeah, I did about close to a decade on that sentence when the case was reversed and I was released. I met Jeannie Matos. She gave me my first job.
Okay.
Being released out of prison. I was 30 years old when I had went in at the age of 22. Can I grab one of these tissue? Thank you. Sorry about that. Should have did that ahead of time. When I went into prison at 22, I had just remembered learning about text messaging. Like text messaging had just come out. So when I got out at the age of 30, I had never sent a text message. I had never sent an email before. She had given me my first job when I got out. And so she was, just recently we were talking, and she was sharing me her side, because I didn't know her side of like she had to actually fight and go to, like you said, she's there for the community, and just the type of person she is. And so she had to fight for me to get the position. And so I didn't know that. And so what I knew was later on, like how HR came in and they were going to fire me, and then they decided to keep me, and all the things that took place after that. She gave me my first job, and I do believe that God used her to give me that job, because it did. It played a very heavy role in the direction of my life, having that job. I worked for the business department of the Salvation Army at the time. That's where she was working.
The Croc Center,
the
right?
Croc Center, yeah, the Salvation Army Croc Center on Dudley Street, when they first were like building it, like $50 million facility at the time. So she hired me. She gave me a shot. But it was that job, I learned so much from her. Just who she is and how she carries herself, how she operates. she has all this life about her, and so I learned a lot from her about business and all those things. Because before then, I had like never worked at like a real job like that before. And then the Salvation Army, they sent me on like their first nationwide business trip, so I learned a lot about business. And then it was while I was working there that I had started my first business, which was in 2012, landscaping and home improvement company. And so so I believe it was that job that played a major role in me, being an entrepreneur today, and having that confidence to think that I could, be a business owner,
That's good, because there are a lot of folks that have been incarcerated and are coming home, and some are starting their own business, some are starting their own nonprofits, and change is coming. People, they see, and some of the people have actually went to jail for crimes they did not commit. And so that's even worse than,
Absolutely.
Going to jail for something that you did do,
Absolutely.
But a lot of brothers are coming out. Pastor Hobbs here actually goes into the prison facilities and registers people to vote.
Awesome.
A lot of people didn't know that they could vote while being incarcerated.
Okay.
And so he's taken on this fight to make sure that all the brothers and sisters that are incarcerated are able to vote.
Awesome.
Yeah, so he's been, Pastor, how long you been going into the prisons now?
Over 2 decades.
Wow. So so just imagine if he wasn't going in there talking to these people, registering them to vote, because the system will let you know that you can't vote if you're incarcerated, but clearly that was a lie. So tell us, what other businesses do you have? So you said you have the landscaping. What's the name of it?
PA Landscaping and Home Improvement LLC. It's the first business that I started in 2012, landscaping and home improvement for residential and commercial properties. Second business I started, it was a rent-a-car company. It did all right. I scaled it to like maybe 18 cars in the first year. I kept it for about 2 years, ended up selling it. It did pretty well. Had a tow truck company that failed. Unforeseen circumstances, failed.
What is the name of your landscaping company?
PA Landscaping and Home Improvement LLC.
Do you have a red truck?
I have multiple trucks, yeah.
Because I think I've seen your
Yeah, so I have like a big ugly face. It's like my face
Yeah,
on all the
yeah,
trucks.
yeah.
So I told somebody when I did it, I was like, it could be the best idea in the world or the worst
Yeah,
idea
I
in the world. I'll
remember.
let you know how it works
I
out.
think you did some work for me.
Possibly.
Yeah, because I
Possibly.
remember the face on the truck, and I remember. You may have did some work for me.
Okay.
Good morning, Eric. Eric's is watching. Eric is another soldier in the fight with returning citizens.
Awesome.
Yes. There's this radio station has been a lifeline, because what was it, Night of the Midnight Hour? What was the name of that broadcast?
Church of the Midnight Hour.
Church of the Midnight Hour, where Pastor Hobbs would be in. What time did it start at midnight? and go to-
11 p.m. to the 6 in the morning.
Yeah, and
Oh,
so
sorry.
a lot of inmates, prisoners are up at that time listening to what the only thing they had, which was the radio.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so he's been been faithful in bringing
Praise
people
God. Praise
in.
God.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
So Wes, you have any questions for our guest?
What was it like coming home and then like seeing just like society in a different place than when you came home?
So-
Just like managing all that, because you already said that like text messages wasn't a thing.
Yeah. It
Oh,
was
okay,
kind of
okay.
trippy coming home, because like a lot had changed. So like, I seen like when I got out, I went like my first time on a train in Boston, because I'm originally from Worcester, Massachusetts, born and raised. Haven't lived there probably in about 20 years, but born and raised in Worcester. Came out here to Boston as soon as I was released, and got on a train. And I looked at all these people, and they were all looking down on their phone, and it just scared the life out of me. I'm like, yo, it looked like everybody was a zombie. I'm like, yo, what's going? Like everybody was just doing the same thing. Like everybody was just looking down, and I'm like, yo, there's like 100 people here,
That's
and they
crazy.
all just looking, just doing one thing, and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is what's going on.
Yeah.
So it was kind of trippy. But what I will say is that God preserved me while I was incarcerated. You know, I spent a lot of time reading my Bible and reading books, and even I started my education in prison at MCI Norfolk. I started at Boston University. I did it for the last 4 years of my incarceration, but I was only doing it part-time, so it was only equivalent to 2 years, so I had to finish it out on the street. But yeah, God preserved me. So I say that to say, because I was doing a lot while I was incarcerated. So like, I wasn't just like working out and playing cards. You know what I'm saying? Like
You was actually working on the mental, making sure you was ready to come.
I was doing
Right.
a lot.
Oh,
I was
God.
doing a lot.
Okay.
I was enrolled in college. I had a job. Yes, I had a workout regimen where I did physical fitness. I was doing a program called Second Thoughts Incorporated, where we mentored at-risk youth who would come in from the DYS lockup facilities, and we'd run like a 14-week program with them.
Something like a Scare Straight.
No.
No.
Scared Straight don't have nothing on this program. A brother, a brother of mine who's really a good friend of mine. His name is Thomas Coons. So definitely have to give him a shout out. He was running the program back then. He now works for Teen Empowerment over there on Warren Street.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and so, but anyways, him and a few other great men ran a board and ran that program. And I would say, it's not like Scared Straight because nobody was yelling at these kids. Like we had topics, and these men were like skilled at what they did. Like just to get into
It was like educating them instead of scaring them.
We had real programs that was effective with not only getting the youth to open up, but helping them kind of like process and heal and all these other things. And so, it was an amazing program. So I say all that to say that I was doing multiple things, and God had already put on my heart, like when I got out, there were many hats I was gonna wear. And so he was like preparing me before I was released. So when I got out, like I just took off running. I was already in a career development program. I had got back into Boston University. I'd started a full-time job working with Jeannie, and then I started my own business. And then that's when I ended up leaving that job, because I was doing too much. I had to quit something. I'm like, well, I'm not going to quit my education. I just started this business, and this business started to take off, and I was still working a full-time job. And so I quit the full-time job. That's when I resigned. And that was, I think, in 2013, and yeah, so I haven't worked for somebody ever again since.
Have you had any barriers to life, or just either just in your personal life, or specifically in your career when applying to other jobs? 'Cause I know you had already had a lot of connections, and so it was kind of like, you had some steps, but like, what about when you was just trying to get some like hustle bread, like a side job or something, like a Stop and Shop or Target, trying to get some side bread while you're trying to build up your main gig that you got going on right now? Like, what was it like trying to just get like regular jobs coming back home, or was it like just trying to like live life? Was there like, what's your barriers? What was the barriers for you?
So I understand. I know what the question is where it's going. It's just, unfortunately, I didn't have those type of barriers. Like I stepped out of prison, and like God was just opening doors for me. But like Jeannie hired, they said, HR told me they lost my Corey record. That's how I got hired. Like they lost it. They couldn't find my Corey. And then when they found my Corey record, they didn't believe it was me. And so even that's a testimony within itself, because they were like, nah, this can't be like that. Like they were reading it, and they were like, nah, this is not him. Like he's mad fun, and he's happy, and he helps us with this, and he helps us with that. Like, nah, it's a mistake. Like, and then she was asking me about my social, and I'm like, ma'am, like that's me. Like everything I got a criminal record longer than Blue Hill Avenue. And I'm like, it took her like 5 minutes to go over the first charge, and I'm like, no, ma'am, like everything that's in front of you, that I did all of that. My first high-speed chase, I was like 12. My first gun charge, I was 15. First crime, I was 8. But I also said, this is who I am today, and blah blah blah, and these are the things that I'm trying to do. I'm in a career development program. I'm currently a student at Boston University, and this is the direction I'm trying to go with my life. And even then, they were ready to fire me. It wasn't until other people stepped up. I have a godmother who was a probate court judge for 23 years, who came into my life while I was in prison. We call her my unofficial godmother. And so her college professors, people people stepped up and they wrote emails to the organization and they said, listen, if you keep this individual, you won't regret it. They said, we put our names and our reputations up on the line for this individual. If you keep him, you won't regret it. And so, and these are college professors. These are, one of them was a judge. The other one, I think, was like worked in some politics or whatever else. But these are mentors of mine that I got through a program, another program. So you're saying about challenges. I came out of prison. And I went from program to program to program, and I utilized every program to be where I'm at today. There was a program called Partakers, mentors, like College Behind Bars. And so they assigned you a group of mentors. Those mentors went with me from prison, out of prison. They stayed, they weren't supposed to. They were only supposed to be educational mentors for me while I was in prison. But the connection that we had made, they stayed with me, and they just, everything that I was trying to do, they just zeroed in on it. So I didn't have a lot of the challenges that a lot of men experience when they come out of prison. I got my first job right away, fired by
that helped. That was very helpful to get a job, because that's
it was extremely
a barrier.
it was extremely helpful, and like I said, I believe that Jeannie giving me that job and where I'm at today, a large portion, like I believe God did that strategically. I believe God put her there, and even that situation when she tells me later on, like, oh, I became a Christian, that's not new to me. I could see before that God was after her. We had went on a nationwide business trip. They sent us to Denver, Colorado, and a lot of people were there learning business and wherever else, and she was in the midst of just like a bunch of Christians who and she was listening, and God was feeding her and planting that seed, and it just took time or whatever when it grew. But yeah, so yeah, her doing everything, her giving me that job, yeah, I sold drugs. Yeah, I may have thought that I was an entrepreneur or something like that, but no. Like I got around professionals. Jeannie was a professional. Her boss, which we were both talking about, was a guy named Chris Needham. And he was like, we both say, the best boss we've ever had in our child. He was a Christian dude. Never seen him lose his cool. Just very kind, very professional, very respectful. Treated his team, everybody, like, didn't matter if it was the janitor or the CEO. Treated them all the same. And so I learned a lot by being around great people, by getting I stayed in church. I stayed, around people who were doing entrepreneurial things. So my book, like you talked about that, congratulations, that you did a book.
Yeah.
I did a book. I launched it last year on my birthday, April 12th. It's called The Absolute Severity of Environment, and it just basically outlines how environment plays a major role on you, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all these things. And so the life that I lived, like with my mother being a prostitute, father being a pimp, I had an older brother, 10 years older than me, 2 murders. My father's sister shot and murdered a man in Worcester, Massachusetts. My older brother, 2 years older than me, shot a man when he was 17. And then I go to prison for shooting a man. So it's like, and then just the life I was exposed in my immediate household. So it's like, okay, if your environment is what made you go down this way, if you change your environment. So now I start, okay, I'm going to be in church. I'm going to be in college. I'm going to be around positive people. And the more I did that, the more I was able to just, grow and excel and expand and things like that. So
praise God.
Yeah.
That's a blessing. That's truly a blessing.
It is.
Yes,
It is.
To have that testimony.
It is. God is good.
Has God
is
ever
good.
tested you in any type of way, and you're like, nah, I'm not that kind of person no more?
Is who testing me?
Has God ever tested you since you came home?
Guys?
God.
Oh, God.
Has God ever tested you when you came home in a way where you're like, I'm not that type of person no more. I'm changed, or I don't do things like that. Like, has a person ever come up to you in another way, or like,
yes,
or something of
a
the sort?
person, yes. A person has, when I first got out, I had individuals who would give me a kilo of cocaine without a question. And I had to say no to that. Just because of I wasn't going down that road.
You're living different. That's what I'm saying.
I left Worcester. When I got out, my mother, my father, my brothers and my sisters, they were still doing the same stuff. They were still drinking and drugging and fighting and shooting and stabbing and just still doing the same stuff. So when I got out, I literally came to Boston with nothing. I had 2 suitcases of secondhand clothes that people gave me out of prison. I came out to Boston. I went over there. I went to a homeless shelter on Columbia Road right there, where the Pilgrim Church is. On the side of it, they have a little thing. And I went and that's how serious I was about not going back to my environment, about knowing that I needed to be exposed to better, to say the least.
Right.
And so
That's
yeah.
real. So what made you get into this business, like get into entrepreneurship after? Like, what made you say like, yo, like?
I just needed a couple extra dollars. I had a full-time job. I had benefits. You know, I was going to school. I just needed a few extra dollars, so I started my landscaping company. I put a lawnmower in the back of an SUV. And that's how I started my landscaping company. And, you know, I scaled it to, you know, 30-something vehicles, you know, scaled the snow removal division. One of my greatest accomplishments, I scaled the snow removal division of the landscaping company to 6 figures in a single night doing snow removal. God's honest truth.
Yeah.
And so I give God the glory for that. You know?
Amen. God is great and
God is
greatly
good,
to be
man.
praised.
Yes.
That's an awesome testimony.
Yeah.
So what other businesses have you?
So I have this business, Relentless DRC. We say Relentless Development and Retention Consultant LLC, and basically it's a business that hasn't made any money. In fact, what I've done is use the money from other businesses for this business, and really what this business was to do is to just help people, you know, with personal and business development. You know, there are a lot of people who've been through similar situations that I've been through, whether it's incarceration or foster homes or drug and alcohol addiction or abuse or whatever else. And in personal and business development, I think they go hand in hand. That's my biggest thing. So some people, I will say this, that if people who only try to focus on money, if you are not right with God, not right with yourself, and anything that you build financially with one hand, you'll tear it down with the other hand because you're not right. But some people try to say, well, you got to get right first before you can do anything, and that I don't believe is true. You know, the company that I scaled to get 6 figures in a single night doing snow removal, to me, that's somewhat of an accomplishment. And being able to do that, it did something for me. It did something for my self-esteem. It did something for my well-being. And it gave me some type of confidence. And so it did something for me in that sense as well. But just because I did that doesn't mean that I'm whole. Doesn't mean that I'm healed. Doesn't mean that I'm still not growing or whatever else. So I'm not going to wait until I'm fixed, because that is never going to happen. You know, he who began a good work will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ. So it's going to be carried on, and it's not even going to be finished until the day of Christ. So I believe it's very important that you put them together. You know, growing up in the hood, I didn't learn about life insurance. I didn't know about trust funds. I didn't know about real estate. I didn't know about credit, personal credit, business credit. I didn't know about these things, and so what I try to do is I try to, you know, convince people, work on these things collectively. You know, they say a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So yes, you can focus on the weak link. Where's the damage at? Where do you need to heal? Where do you need to grow? Right? But that can become boring. But let's do that. But let's also ask you, what are your dreams? What are your hopes? What would you like to achieve and accomplish? And let's simultaneously let's figure out action items. And let's figure out environments, and let's make an environment that's made up of sub-environments that's specifically designed to get me to the goal. So if the goal is just becoming better, is it getting some healing in my life, getting some education, growing finances, having, you know, financial security, being able to afford insurance for a loved one who may need health insurance, whatever it may be. And so that's my thing. My thing is that the two go hand in hand. You know, personal and business development, and that's what I do. And that's another company. But it's made no money. I've thrown conferences for the community that I've funded from the other businesses. I've went places and I would go and speak, and I wouldn't say it hasn't made any money. It's made money, but it's not turning a profit. It's I've been doing it because it's something that I've been passionate about, and so So that's why. So that's that business. I also owned a real estate company where I bought my first 6-unit building in Chicago. You asked about what are the other businesses, and then just recently we just launched a landscaping and maintenance business with a young man who I allowed to be partner with this company. He's a young man who's been with me for since he was 17 years old, and so hardworking individual, amazing young man. And so I'm trying to help him, start this business and lift it up and so that's HD Landscaping and Maintenance LLC in the Boston area. If you need your lawn cut, if you need any type of landscaping services, this young man, Chad, he's your man. HD Landscaping and Home Improvement LLC.
Okay, shout
I mean,
out.
excuse me. Let me say that. HD Landscaping and Maintenance LLC. Let me correct that. Yeah.
Okay. You that's awesome. That's amazing. Sometimes we go through things and we don't know why we go through things. You know, I mean, like you said, your environment. You came from a very toxic environment. And so you didn't have any choice basically because you were there with family and friends. So you didn't know no other way to go but the way that you went. But look at how God blessed you through all that, through the imprisonment.
Absolutely.
And so now you're out, now you're helping people, now you're doing probably what you were called to do, and so I'm happy to meet you and to see that you're thriving, because everybody don't have the same testimony that you have, but
Absolutely.
it just goes to show you that there is a God and he's real,
Absolutely.
he's very
Absolutely.
real.
Amen.
And by meeting Jeannie, that kind of like took your life in a totally different
It did.
way,
It did.
because had they fired you, or had Jeannie not hired you, then that would have probably left you with a bad taste in your mouth, But from listening to you, it seemed like that wouldn't have stopped you. Like you would have probably went on to, to still, because it was in you. If something is in you, if it's in you, it may take time to birth it, or it may take time for it to come out. But it truly, was a blessing for you to come out and be able to get a job. I mean, you just kind of like packed your bags up and just said, I'm going to Boston.
Yeah, it was that serious for me. It was that serious for me. I knew I had to get out of Worcester.
Yeah.
I knew I had to. It's my hometown. I got a lot of loved ones out there, family and friends. But I just knew I had to get out. And so
That's actually what my brother did. God rest his soul. My brother just passed away in December of last year, and he was in and out of prison as well, and he was from Boston. So he packed his stuff up and he moved to Worcester. and he lived there for like the last 25 years. Actually, his funeral was in Worcester because he became so connected with the, I think it was the Worcester AIDS Project. He was very active in NA, and, he turned his life around. He gave his life to Christ, and he was doing a lot of work out there. So sometimes you do have to just pack your bags and just move, move to a different atmosphere, a different state, a different city, and he did well. All that time he was in Worcester, he never went back to prison.
Awesome.
He has a daughter 28, a son 6, and he that move to Worcester is what helped him and saved him,
Absolutely.
from being going back and forth, and that's what happens. Because see, the system, the prison system, to me is created to keep us in bondage. The 13th Amendment, and so I couldn't understand it when I was younger why they would say, well, people get out of jail and then they go right back. I couldn't. Well, why they keep going back? They keep going back because they can't get a job. They can't go back to the housing that they lived in. They can't get a loan to better themselves, And so thank God for these types of programs that are out here that actually help returning citizens. Because my thing is, once you've served your time and you get out, you should be able to go on with your life.
And thrive.
You shouldn't be stuck couch surfing.
Couch surfing.
You should be able to get a job.
Shelters. Yeah, you should be able to get a job and be able to live your life.
Absolutely. And being familiar with that, I didn't experience it now at 30, but like I said, I have a criminal record longer than Blue Hill Avenue, and so I've been going in and out of the system. for a long time, and so I am very familiar with that, and just familiar with individuals who struggled getting jobs or whatever, and that was another thing that I believe God put me in place for. There were a lot of individuals who come out of prison and they need a job starting out that PA Landscaping and Home Improvement has been able to provide a job for. And so and not just that, like writing letters to their parole, just trying to be there because you're aware and you're familiar with how difficult that all that could be. So that was another aspect I believe that God also allowed me to be a blessing to individuals, to help them get on their feet. Lots of individuals who I did time with came out and needed jobs, and so I gave them jobs, or they knew somebody who needed a job, and they'd get a job and they'd work to get on their feet until they, some of them go back to school, some of them go do something else, So, but yeah, I believe that also was a blessing.
Yeah. It's not easy, especially in this society that we live in. It's just like they don't want to give you, just like slavery. The folks that stole us from Africa, they wanted us to be slaves forever. And it just seems like when you go to prison, for one thing, they just want to keep that tag on you, And we don't know why people do things. I mean, some folks don't have food to eat, so they go into the supermarket and they, get something to eat, I mean, it's sad, but especially with all this wealth that's in the world,
Absolutely.
But I'm happy to see that you basically did you turned yourself around,
Yeah, to God be the glory. I'm still a work in progress. I still got a lot of things I'm working on. But yeah, no, definitely. God has done a lot in my life. He's showed his face. He showed his hand. And so, yeah, I'm very grateful, very, very grateful, very humbled. God is, if we're talking about God, I could be on here all day. I love God. And yes, it's definitely a testimony and a miracle of what he's done, what he's able to do.
That's right.
And I'm still excited and looking forward to, what's coming,
Right,
so.
right. Plus you're still young.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So you live in Boston now, right?
I live in Boston. I've been out here since 2010 when I got out, so almost 15 years now. I lived in Newton for like the first 2 years, and then 13 years I lived out here in Boston. But yeah, so I'm out here in Boston. Finally I graduated from Boston University.
Congratulations.
And really never, didn't leave. Didn't plan on leaving. I like it out here in Boston. I'm gonna stay out here. I get my travel on, but I come back to Boston, so. Yeah.
It's a beautiful city.
It is.
It's a beautiful city. It does have its ups and downs and ins and outs, but I was born and raised here, so I'm kind of like stuck. Like I feel like I even if I wanted to leave, I feel like I can't leave because I have
Boston
so many
needs you.
ties.
Boston needs you.
I don't know about all that.
Yeah, we need you out here.
I need a break. I need some rest. And
We need to take a trip somewhere, maybe like PR or something.
Yeah,
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I need to go. So I need to go somewhere where I speak the language.
Alabama, Texas. Go down to Florida, get some sweet honey pot pie.
Yeah.
Oh,
You was gonna say something, Pastor?
No. Yeah. So no.
You look like you was gonna say something.
Yeah.
So,
No. So I'm really loving hearing your testimony, and definitely wanna connect because a lot of the work that we're doing around no entry and re-entry, right? We're trying to build a whole coalition because it's your story is powerful, and so you might know my brother-in-law Dennis Everett. He actually is now the director of restorative justice for EOPS, right? But he served time MC. I know folks with Tommy Coons, a lot of budget you're talking about, and just this. When I met him, he was incarcerated. Now he's the
your brother-in-law?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. He's the one who.
I know he sings that song.
Yeah. So he was.
I met him once, I think, here.
Okay.
I think one time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Dennis Everett. So when I met him, he was incarcerated for felony conviction, and again, a lot of circumstances in his life that brought him to that place. But from that place to this place, he is now married to my baby sister, who's the first black city councilor in the history of the city of Haverhill.
Wow.
Right?
Oh, that's your sister.
Yes.
Okay, and he's her husband.
That's right.
All right.
So they're a real power couple.
Yeah.
There's some things out there in
Yeah.
Haverhill
That's what's
and Lawrence, right?
Wow.
And so it just goes to show, but it has everything to do with their relationship with Christ,
Wow.
right? And reconciliation and community, all the things that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So this is the kingdom, right? And it has to be, now, you're credible messengers, right? When you have your story, you're anointed, right? People like him is anointed to go into communities where a lot of brothers and sisters who are struggling, they don't have that community, they don't have that environment, and then we want to catch them before they get incarcerated or before they have a record long as little lad, right? So it's important.
Absolutely.
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 Kept you
Absolutely.
for a reason and anointed you because quite candidly, they don't know, right?
Absolutely.
The media is glorifying
Yeah.
rap and thugs and killing and all that, everything that's the enemy, right? So the media is glorifying that, and they're thinking it's a badge of honor to kill somebody. It's a badge of honor to be incarcerated, and it's not. So the prevention is a major piece, right? We want to stop folks from going in, but we also want to come on the other side in terms of reentry, because a lot of services and organizations that are getting resources are not doing the real work that you're talking about and hiring folks and know how to deal with people who have got trauma. It isn't just about giving them a job, but that community.
Absolutely.
And you're anointed. So I definitely look forward to talking with you and seeing how we can just build.
And that's something that we address with Relentless DRC. When you've done time in prison, any time, I don't care if it was 10 years or 10 days, it's done something to you. It's done something to you mentally, emotionally, psychologically, even spiritually. It's done something to you. And when it's done something to you, that something, whatever that something is going to show up in your life. In other areas, it's going to show up in your marriage. It's going to show up on the job. It's going to show up in any relationship that you have. And so, if you don't address those things, then So that's my little 2 cents. That's my 2 cents.
No, but we have a phone call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, how y'all doing? This is Brother Dennis. I just had a question. I was listening. I'm working, and my question, I guess, is more of a practical question. As a business owner in Boston, with the mayoral race coming up, my question is about like city contracts and where does that land? Like I find as you that had a prior record that's open to hiring people. Is mass hire working with you? Is the city working with you? Because my question is more like, sometimes people that get a job and can articulate their way into the job don't represent the best population of people that are coming out and really want to change their life. I've ran across people that really couldn't articulate themselves on a job with a foreman, and just because their vernacular wasn't what it needed to be, they were removed from a job, but they showed up on time, they put in an effort. So I think how you get through that is by having experienced contractors like yourself getting bigger opportunity for city jobs and state contracts. So my question is, are there any programs or are there anything that's helping someone like you to scale and expand your business beyond your own effort? And I'm going to just listen.
Thanks for the call, caller.
Yes, no, that was a great question. So because of what he said and the challenges that people can face, I personally didn't go down that route. I do believe there are programs, and I know there are lots of programs that help people start their business. Don't matter if you're a felon or not, that you have a business. If you meet all the requirements, if you've been in business for a certain amount of years, if you have the experience, if you have the training and all of that, that you can get those. They certify you as minority owned, and you can get those government contracts. And I know other companies and other entrepreneurs in the local Boston area who are doing that. I myself, because I don't like people telling me no, because I don't want to wait for anybody like my since I've been working for myself since 2013, like my source of income is my Father in heaven. And so I do, like, I don't like, people will get in your way, and systems will get in your way, and processes will get in your way. And so because of that, like I started my business all private contracts, all like and then I had many offers throughout the years to work for the city, and I turned them down because I make way more money with private contracting than the city is even willing to pay.
I hear you.
But there are people who have local businesses in Boston who are young entrepreneurs or older entrepreneurs, whatever. But they do have these systems that are available, and you can reach out for them. You could Google them. I am aware of Dorchester Bay Economic Development. I believe it's over on Dorchester,
Columbia Road.
Columbia Road, yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you just contact them alone or check out their website, they're connected to so many different resources that can help you open so many different doors, even give you business loans. I think I got like 3 different business loans from them and paid them all back very quickly. That helped my other businesses. Like I got like 3 different business loans for 3 different businesses, and then so they're good people. My relationships with them, they provide a lot of educational information for young and new entrepreneurs and stuff like that.
You do on the call. I'm curious, what was the name of that again?
Dorchester Bay Economic Development.
Yeah.
And it's on Columbia Road. Yeah. And so they do everything from teach different things from credit. Small businesses, all different stuff, restaurants. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I told you, like, I'm with programs like that. Boston is filled with programs. But the thing is, like, there'll be programs. So one of the things I'm not cool with is like excuses. So there's a lot of programs in Boston, and in my opinion, that's what I talk about. That's why I want to light a fire under you. Like, what's your excuse? My mother was a prostitute. My father was a pimp. You know what I mean? I have murderers in my immediate family. Like, what's your excuse? Boston has a lot of programs. I utilize the programs. If you don't utilize the programs, then you're not going to be able to do nothing. And so it's, where's your drive? What are you doing for you? Where are you at mentally, emotionally, spiritually? What are you doing? Where's your fire at? And so they're out there. The programs are out there. The programs are out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'm enjoying this conversation. More importantly, I'm enjoying the information that I'm getting from it, I should say. I just had a couple of questions for your guest. Good morning, Sister Priscilla.
Good morning. Is this Larry?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So, a couple of things come to mind, because I was at a community meeting yesterday, and it was really alarming. I retired from the Boston Police Department, one of the broadcasters there on Saturdays at the Round Table.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And I always love collaborating with brothers like yourself and people who are trying to do some positive things. I think people think that the two can't work together. It's just the opposite. We actually bring a skill set, right? When we work together, it shows that we're willing to work together in a meaningful way. It was very concerning because at the meeting yesterday that I was at, they were talking about a lot of younger people who are shooting, and they're being recruited because of the reforms that now that they're younger, under the age of 12, you can't be held criminally responsible for your behavior. And I don't take issue with that. What I take issue with is that there's been really little things in place to deal with the behavior that still exhibits with these young people, because they become 13 years old and now they've got these bad habits, and programs like yourself are not available to Michael Thomas, the People's Academy. Like, the city's very good with saying they have these services, but then they don't fund them properly, or they don't have the right people like yourself that are running them who actually really want to see some improvement. So I just want to get your comments on this. I know it's a lot, but I just want to get your feedback.
All of that was for me. So I mean, that was a loaded question. I'll just say no. I'll just say, everything starts in the household, I believe, and so yeah. I mean, that's a big question. I mean, if the youth are misbehaving at a young age and they're not being held accountable, I don't know what's going on in the world. Like, everything is changing. You got church, you got parents. Go ahead.
Right. I guess, not to interrupt you, I guess because what I'm seeing is that if we're not getting to these folks, the other people are recruiting them because they know that their behavior won't be held criminally responsible. But and then they
Recruiting them how? I don't understand that
You're
part
talking
of the
about more
question.
so like.
So they're recruiting them to carry the guns. They're recruiting
Yeah,
them to
that's
do
what I
the
was about to
shooting.
say.
Carry
Because
the
I was just about to
drugs.
say that. You're talking about
Right.
gangs.
Oh, you're
Exactly,
talking
because
about
all-
gang life and street life and
No,
all
no,
that.
not,
Yeah.
not even not
Yeah.
not gang life. Just in general, right? When they're not reaching out to them and letting them know there are other like resources, like what you're doing and others are doing. You know,
Yeah.
that messaging is not getting out as easy and accessible to them. You know, like to be able to take your program and stuff like and go to a school and be talking to young people, it'd be hard to get in the door. But yet the guy doing the wrong things is waiting outside the door, and they know it, and they're allowed. You know, they have more access to them than people who are doing positive.
I mean, there are people who hold the keys to those doors, and so I again, that's a question I'm not sure I'm fit to answer.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, like we all just got to do our part. I mean, yeah, we could. We could focus on the fact that things are not being done in certain areas, and I'm only one person, but I think if we're all doing something, we're all helping
Well,
in a way.
If everybody do a
That's
little,
real.
nobody got to do a lot.
And
Yeah.
Priscilla has my that's why I'm saying is I'm calling this because I'm willing to do my part work with people like yourself, and I'd love to have a further conversation with you about how I and my organization can be of help.
Awesome. No, that'd be great. Thank you. Absolutely. I'd love to.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks. All right.
Thanks, Larry, for calling in and listening.
Yeah.
I have my cousin from California, Tone Flint. He's watching. Good morning. I see Fatima on here. Good morning, Fatima. Denise. I think Denise lives in Alabama. So we're getting some real good people that are watching and listening this morning, And so this is People Power with Priscilla. We are the people and we have the power. And just like this young man is talking to us about what he's been through, but he is one of the people who has the power. He has he has hired folks. He has opened businesses. He's a returning citizen, and he has worked his way around the system so that it's working for him. And so a lot of us need to know, how did you do that? And that's why I think that caller, Dennis, that's what he was saying, because there are programs out here, but it's like, who gets the opportunity to do this work? Who gets the opportunity to get these grants? I mean, it's like war almost, trying to get a grant to do a program that everyone says is a good program, and then you apply for a grant, and they don't give you a nickel, dime, a quarter. So you got to do what you got to do.
And again, that's the reason for the business that doesn't make any money. But so it's like, okay, you're trying to get a grant because you're trying to help the community and you're trying to help some youth, but you can't get the money.
Right.
So because I don't like roadblocks. I use the money from other businesses to still help the community, and
That's real.
and that's
good. You figured it out. We have another call. Oh, okay. Good morning, caller number one.
Number one caller.
Jeannie, I can't. You can't mistake that voice.
Heavenly Earthlings, how are you doing today?
How you doing, Jeannie?
I'm so happy that you made it to the broadcast, Nick.
Yes, me too. I mean, I haven't heard from you in almost a decade. You call my phone talking about services, and a week later I'm on a radio station. I'm like, I said yes before I even knew what I was doing. I didn't know who was who, what was what. I was like, yeah, because it's Jeannie. I'm like, yeah.
I mean, you trust me, Nick. You trust me. I've never
absolutely,
done you wrong. I never steered you wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna call you about some other services too, because I need some help. But that's another phone call. That's another phone call.
Absolutely.
But I'm so happy that you made it to Priscilla's broadcast. She's my spiritual mother, and I'm just so happy that you're talking about your testimony, everything that you've been through. I've been listening in, kind of in and out. I'm with, I was with a contractor earlier, and I want to get your opinion on something. But I'm just so happy that you're doing this work, Nick. You're such an inspiration to so many people. You have no idea the amount of influence that you have just from your testimony this morning. And, everything that you've been through, I mean, it's just been kind of hell and back. You went to hell, to heaven, and now you're a heavenly earthling, walking the streets and inspiring everybody with your story. So thank you so much. And
Thank
you
you,
to
Jeannie.
Pastor Hobbs and Minister Priscilla for having you on. And I will call you all three of y'all later because I
Okay.
have business dealings with all three of y'all. Okay? So God bless and pray on me, okay?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Pray for
Jeannie.
me, not
Love
on me, but
you.
pray for me. Okay, love you guys. All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.
We'll talk
All right,
later.
bye.
Bye.
I believe we have another caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Sister Priscilla. How you doing?
I'm good, Grace. How you doing?
Good, good. Glad to hear your voice.
Yes. Thanks for calling in.
I'm just calling to congratulate your guests. I appreciate the work that they're doing. And I just like to focus on prevention and that our community issue that our community needs to address, and that is the IEP to prison pipeline, because the majority of people who are in prison had IEPs. They come from families where their parents had IEPs. So a lot of
What is an IEP?
Huh?
It's a-
What is an IEP?
Special needs.
Okay.
Yeah, so in schools, there were special needs students. And so special needs students don't have a plan for graduation.